the Bears, coming off back-to-back losses. The Lions, one of the best teams in the NFL, sitting here at 10-1, projected to have the number one seed in the NFC. But the Bears have been playing a little bit better as of late, especially on the offensive side of the football since Thomas Brown has taken over as offensive coordinator. So, Carmen, as we often do, always do, I should say, to start previewing these games, your matchup that matters. What are we looking for in this one?
I'm really excited. We have at least one NFC North game or game between two NFC North teams from now until the rest of the season, or until the end of the regular season. So
and it's basically just Chicago, right? Basically just Chicago running the toughest gauntlet of all time here.
Incredibly. Like, I think earlier in the season or before the season started, you were like, okay, Caleb's going to get a chance to really, like, there was a sweet spot in the season before their bye and maybe get some wins there before there's, an absolute gauntlet, which is when you want a young quarterback to have to play the toughest teams, is towards the back end of his first season if he's going to have to do it. But with the shakeups that happened in Chicago, it kind of felt like Caleb was starting from square one a couple weeks ago. But to Thomas Brown's credit, like you alluded to, he made some drastic changes to this offense while sticking within the same installed playbook. And Caleb Williams has been the beneficiary of that. There's been so much more motion as far as the pre-snap looks. Yep. It's giving Caleb Williams so much more information when it comes to what the coverage he's facing, giving him a leg up on the defense, kind of manipulating the safeties, all that kind of stuff that motion can help you do. We haven't seen as much of an uptick in play action as I think I would probably like to eventually see, but that's also something that's not necessarily inherent for young quarterbacks. Turning your back to the defense, having to reset and then read again is something that kind of it's an acquired taste for quarterbacks. And while it can help you mitigate the rush, it's also kind of hard. So I understand that kind of taking a little bit longer. But what you've also seen is Caleb Williams has all season long tried to go for the deep ball, and his average depth of target has routinely been in the top 10 week in and week out. And under Shane Waldron, that didn't quite work. Well, now with Thomas Brown, in the last two games, Caleb Williams has been really, really good as far as deep throws goes. Past the sticks in his last two games, 77.0 PFF grade, 18 of 33, 297 yards, 1 touchdown, 7 big-time throws. And they're actually working. That's the key factor. So it's Caleb's deep throws, and then against this Lions coverage unit, which we know includes Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph, the best safety tandem in the league. Yeah. But I think where you can kind of catch Detroit on their heels, especially with the injuries that they're dealing with this week, is on the outside, those outside corners. You have Carlton Davis, who's missed the last 2 days of practice. I haven't seen the final injury designation for him and if he's in fact going to play yet. But you have him, you have Terrion Arnold, who is a rookie, very promising in a lot of ways, but also 37 catches allowed for 432 yards, 3 touchdowns allowed, 22 catches for a first down. He's had 5 forced incompletions, and I feel like you see him kind of coming along. But if there is a weakness on this Detroit defense right now, I think you can try to exploit that outside the numbers, kind of the outside corners, that area of the field. And Caleb Williams has been doing well so far under Thomas Brown in throws like that.
He's just so much more confident, right? It's not like we thought that these throws couldn't exist for him, but he was very hesitant to get to them with Shane Waldron. And, clearly, everything that was going on with DJ Moore, it felt like the vibes were off in Chicago. And anytime that's the case, obviously a young quarterback and a rookie quarterback, it's going to be hard to expect them to feel comfortable putting the ball in harm's way further down the field. And over these last 2 weeks, he has been more willing to do that, which has been a lot of fun to watch. Detroit's a tough team to crack, especially in the secondary, but you're right. If there's anywhere there where they might be a little bit up and down, it might be on the outside. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'll flip to the other side of things, and I'll talk about the Bears coverage unit, because in reality, the talking point over the last 2 weeks has been Caleb has done enough to win the football game, but they haven't. And I'm not saying it's solely on the defense for that, but the defense has been struggling, especially the coverage unit as of late. No Jaquan Brisker, obviously. Kyler Gordon had a really good game last week with a couple of forced incompletions, but everybody else, The rest of the secondary, the rest of the corners, the rest of the safety is really poor. 54.9 overall coverage grade as a team, and that includes Kyler Gordon's elite 91.9 grade. So when you factor that in, man, it just was not a good day at the office for most of the secondary members of the Chicago Bears. And this has kind of been a story this year. They have not been quite the defense they were the year before. It's like we talk about with the Jets. The Jets maybe a little bit better on offense, but they've also taken a step back on defense. And so that complementary factor, it's not quite there. It feels that way for the Bears right now. And so the Bears coverage unit, specifically the corners and the safeties, going up what is the most easily unstoppable offense, it feels like, in the NFL, with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta and Jameson Williams. And then, of course, David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs out of the backfield as well. Ben Johnson, he's just making it look so easy out there. And if you're bad in coverage, even with one player, it feels like you get picked on with this Detroit Lions team, especially. And so you don't want to be in Chicago's situation where you're struggling in a couple of different spots. So to me, that's the big matchup that matters, because if Chicago's coverage doesn't have a little bit of a get right game, which is a tough assignment to have that, I don't know if they're really going to stand a chance in this one, for as good as the Lions are, and this one obviously being in Detroit. I'll go to my plus factor on the other side of things, because it sort of goes into the offense needing to play better. DeAndre Swift is who I really need to continue to play better, and just this rushing offense overall. With Caleb Williams playing well now, you need to continue to complement that with a good run game. And it feels like it's been a little up and down for Chicago. You've highlighted DeAndre Swift a couple of times here on these previews to say, man, they've got to be able to run the football. And I'm here sort of echoing that sentiment here this week. Caleb is playing well. The best way to continue that progression for him is in the moments where, all right, maybe I don't quite have it in the first or second quarter, I can hand it off and we can still continue to move the ball down the field. I can keep that confidence. So DeAndre Swift's the plus factor for me. Who's the plus factor for you?
Yeah, it kind of goes along with that, though it's not a running back. It's just kind of more attacking the short to intermediate area of the field. And the fact that the Bears might have an opportunity to do that with Alex Anzalone out for the Detroit Lions, I want to see more Cole Kmet. And we've seen his production steadily kind of increase under Thomas Brown, and calling those plays and using Cole Kmet as the safety net that he once was earlier in the season for Caleb Williams. I need to see more of that as well, because Cole Kmet can just present so many different kinds of mismatches, and again, can help your offense stay so multiple against a defense that is so good in Detroit. From the defensive line to this, again, that safety tandem that I was talking about before, across all levels, Aaron Glenn just has more than made up for the fact that they lost their best player so early in the season in Aiden Hutchinson. And he's figured out ways to kind of maximize the talent while hiding the holes in this Detroit defense. And I really do think that they are going to kind of take a step back, given that Alex Anzalone isn't in the middle of the field anymore for them. Can you exploit that then with Cole Kmet? Can you keep him, as the safety net for Caleb Williams and keep his confidence up while targeting Cole Kmet? Again, DeAndre Swift out of the backfield. I'm relieved to say it seems like Thomas Brown knows exactly how to use his running back rotation between DeAndre Swift and Roschon Johnson. That's not something that we saw earlier with Shane Waldron, or we did for like a 3-game stretch, and then all of a sudden he forgot about how to kind of use those two guys. I think the combination of those 3 guys in particular are going to be so important for the Bears offense to stress this Detroit defense as much as they possibly can, in as many ways as they possibly can, because we know the inverse of that is true, where Detroit is so good at just stressing Chicago's defense, or any defense, so well, given the just versatility of all of their players. I want to see the Bears try to go toe-to-toe with that. The Lions are the better team. Mm-hmm. The Bears are the weirder one. So
I can't argue with you. And I think Lions fans who might be watching this are like, hey, you spent most of the time talking about the Chicago Bears. Well, the reason is because the Lions are easy right now. I mean, they're playing so incredibly well. They understand their identity. You know what you're going to get every single week, and it's a really damn good football team. So a lot of the talk of really any team that we have playing the Detroit Lions is, do they have the matchup?
Do they have a shot?
Right. Can they keep up with Detroit? And I do think that Chicago does.
Yes.
But they got to be better in coverage. They've got to make sure the run game is better. And then, of course, I think Caleb has to continue to play at the level that he has.
And if Lions fans want, more stuff about them, just a shameless plug, I just wrote a very glowing review of Dan Campbell's first 3 years with the Detroit Lions and what that's meant for them, for Detroit, and how everybody has finally wised up to what the Lions have known since Dan Campbell got there, in that they are no longer the laughingstock of the league. They are a juggernaut, and we are all reckoning with that right now. So go check that out if you want to hear really nice things about the Lions. It's also the reason I think the Bears might have a shot in this, because I'm like, of course, the week that I write the glowing things about the Lions, the Bears are going to do something weird.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe the video. And if you don't have a PFF Plus subscription, you can get one to see all the premium stats that we talked about here on the show, plus the expert betting and fantasy advice over at subscribe.pff.com. The description is also right below. So if you are not a PFF Plus subscriber, you can become one today.